Welcome to episode number 6 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with my co-host, Chris Cohen. And this episode, we will be diving in about a lot of topics in the NBA that's going on these past couple of weeks and previewing some games this upcoming week. And I'm excited to start and see what your thoughts are.
Definitely, yeah. I got some good topics, a lot of good teams to discuss. It's gonna be a good show.
So first, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns and their impressive winning streak. So I'll start about what I think about them.
So cool.
So I think that they've been a very intriguing team this couple of games. I mean, this season as a whole, but it's very awesome to see how Monte Williams, his ability to have the guys that he has to have a great squad, and I'm really surprised of how well they're playing, even without Devin Booker, which is a big loss for them. I'm not sure how long he will be out for, but I think that having Jay Crowder with Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, and some others, I think that they are a really deep depth team, and I think that they can do some damage without Devin Booker. The question is, can their offense rely on not off of around the perimeter without Devin Booker? And I'm just anxious to see what happens with them.
I definitely agree with all you're saying. I mean, Booker's going to be out more than a couple more games. I don't know exact timetable, but I believe a hamstring injury. Those can be kind of tricky sometimes. I'm not saying to worry, but he got hurt, and I believe it was the first half of their. So they played Golden State twice recently, and they won the first game. I believe he missed the second half, I know, but they were able to close that game out without him, which was very impressive. They weren't able to win on the road without him, but that ended their win streak. But they didn't lose the game in November, and like that's something. I get it's early. It's still just early December when we're recording this, but so it's still 5 months until the playoffs. So you don't want to overreact to anything that's going on early in the season. But for them to make the NBA Finals last season and get going again like they have, a lot of teams they get off to slow starts after making the finals. So you got to give them a lot of credit for getting right back on track. And with the way the Lakers are playing, with the way there's a lot of injuries, Kawhi Leonard hurt, a lot of stuff going on in the Western Conference, they feel they have as good a chance as any to win the West and win an NBA championship. And they should feel that way. I still don't know how I feel against them matching up against some of the teams in the East, but they have 100% a great chance to win the West again. And it's just going to be interesting to see. You talk about the depth. Jay Crowder, got Mikal Bridges, Shamit's been playing well, Cam Johnson, campaign. They just have a lot of guys. JaVale McGee's also been a really good backup center for them on Shining out. They just have a lot of guys who are playing really good basketball and a lot of guys who fit into their role. And it's harder to find guys like that than you would think. And Chris Paul helps. He elevates everyone's game. DeAndre Ayton's been really good, and they have a really solid group of guys. They're not necessarily the most talented at any spot, like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton stud. And there's a lot of other talented guys, but they mesh well together and they play really good ball on both ends of the floor. And you talked about Monty Williams, the job he's done in Phoenix over the past couple of seasons is very impressive. And it's as good of a coaching job as I've seen in recent NBA memory, I feel like.
While you were talking, I actually looked up their upcoming schedule for the 10th of December. They play Boston. So my question is for you, what do you think about Jason Tatum against a a really solid Phoenix team.
I mean that's gonna be a tough one for Boston because I know. I mean Boston's just been disappointing. That's
Mhm.
I guess last season into this season. They just really took a big step back. Like I get teams struggle, but they went from contender to clearly not a contender. Like
Mhm.
maybe they can get back to better by the end of the season. I don't have as high expectations, but they took a major drop. But Jason Tatum has not. He's still a big time player. Him and Jaylen Brown are two. Jason Tatum, they're both young stars, maybe superstars, however you want to define it. They're all stars in this
Mhm.
league. And Tatum, he's one of the best young talents we have in the game. So, I mean, against Phoenix, it's going to be a super tough matchup for him. It'll depend if Booker plays or not. If they would, I mean, I don't think they can beat Phoenix with even without Booker. The
Mhm.
Celtics just aren't playing great basketball. They have a couple injuries of their own. I don't know Schroeder's status. I don't know what his injury was, but I know he's missing time, and just different guys have too. But like, they just they don't have the Suns' depth meshes way better than the Celtics. And I mean, Tatum's always capable of going for 40, but we've also seen him have a couple like 4 for 16 shooting nights, and he needs to be a little more consistent. I feel like for his team, and you never know what you're going to get from them. And it's just really interesting to see how they can build going forward with Tatum and Brown. But I'm super interested to see that. That'll be a fun game to watch for sure.
Oh, my mistake leaving out San Antonio in their schedule. So they play San Antonio on the 6th, which is tomorrow,
Okay, nice.
and then they play Boston.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, that Spurs game will be a good one. Spurs have a
Yeah.
couple of different guys that can give them a couple some good athletes, good young pieces. Not really playoff teams, but I mean, it's still Greg Popovich coaching Spurs. Not same
Mhm.
talent level, but still a Spurs. So if the Suns don't play good ball, they could definitely lose that game. I really like what Deontay Murray's done this season.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the more underrated young stars we have in the game.
Hmm. All right. So moving on to our second topic. Uh, what are your thoughts on the Sixers' recent games and like getting Embiid back? What do you think about their game plan going forward and going up against a solid Charlotte team this upcoming week?
Yeah, so I'll just start with talking about like I mean they've had a lot of stuff. Embiid missed multiple weeks. Um, a lot of other injuries, as you know, big Sixers fan, but like they've been missing a lot of guys.
Mhm.
And well past the Ben Simmons stuff, don't even really need to discuss him at this point. But like even like they Embiid, Milton missed a decent amount of time. Tobias Harris, he's been back for a few games, hasn't he?
Uh, yeah,
Couple
he's.
games at least. Like he's
I
back
feel like
in
he's
there.
been out for a good amount of games.
Yeah, Heaven and Embiid were both out for at least 5 6 games, I believe. And then Harris came back,
Yeah.
but then yeah, but it's just a process working these guys in together without Simmons, trying to figure out the offense a little bit because Tyrese Maxey's been really good. We're both high on his
Hmm.
game, and Shake Milton's decent too, and they have some different guys, but like they need to get a lot. They need to just keep getting games in with Maxey, like being that guy at four during
Hmm.
times, and how he can fit off Embiid and Harris in like big moments because like the record's not what you wanted, but like this team's more focused on just getting better.
Hmm.
I don't think they're a contender in the East by any means, but like there's no reason this team can't continue to build and become a contender again very quickly, whether that's next season or whatever, or maybe even move the this deadline. Who knows? Don't want. It's hard to project. Current roster is not, but this team has a lot of potential to be very good, like right now. So however that looks, but like I really like. It's just about like continue to get games in. Um, they're definitely a playoff team, or at least a plan. I mean, the bottom we've talked about this so many times, but like the bottom of the Eastern Conference is it's going to be so jumbled, and a lot of it may come down to health, like which guys are healthy, and just like the Sixers are clearly one of the 8 best teams, but maybe they have to play in that playing tournament, and anything can happen in that scenario. So I would guess that one of they're probably fifth or sixth in the East, best team, but I mean, they're gonna have to earn that spot not and to avoid the play-in. And there's a lot of teams that have similar conversation: the Celtics, the Knicks, the Hornets. Like there's a lot of teams that in that like it's gonna be super compact, super close, competitive down the
They,
stretch when it comes down to these games.
uh, so one of my thoughts is, what are your expectations of them matching up against Charlotte
So yeah, I
after
like
after a very well deserved win against Atlanta last night?
that was
I
a
mean,
big
yesterday.
yesterday. Yeah, so I mean that was a big time win.
Yeah.
Um, I personally wasn't able to watch, so if you can go into detail a little bit about if you watched that, I'll say something. But like, it's just that was a big win for them because Atlanta's.
Mhm.
I mean, Atlanta's been a little shaky this season too, but like that's still a good win on the road. I believe it was on the road. On the road, yeah, I think it was in Atlanta. But like, you get that win against a good Hawks team, and you just continue to keep getting better. And then the Hornets are a team that they've been up and down as well, but they've had some really good moments too. Like they've had
Mhm.
some games where they've just been sensational. Like the young talent they have on that team is they're a rising team that needs to watch over the next few years with LaMelo Ball, maybe the next decade plus. Who knows projecting, but like they have the young talent to be really good quickly and for a long time. So I mean that's gonna
Mhm.
be super fun matchup. They don't have anybody to guard Joel Embiid though, so that's what's gonna come down to. How effective can the Sixers be with him? I think Tyrese Maxey can have a big game as well. Because I mean I don't know who to defend him with, but I mean the Sixers have the guys to score, but just
Cook,
defensively as well. It'll be interesting to see how they defend some of the guys like Miles Bridges.
I feel like Cook Mars has been off lately.
He has been. I've noticed that. I don't know what
Yeah.
his stats are looking like, but yeah, he's definitely someone you'd like to get going. A little more consistency.
Hmm.
But I mean, I see. Ooh, is Tobias Harris hurt again?
Um, I'm not positive.
Because he
I
didn't
have,
play against Atlanta.
yeah, I think he might be on the COVID list. I'm not sure.
That'd be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're not even healthy now. So I mean, I will say Niang's been a really good pickup for you guys.
Hmm.
Um, I don't, I still don't know what his value is in like playoff series, whatever, defending. But like, he's a reliable guy on both ends of the floor. I feel like he can shoot the ball well. You can he's a vet. He knows what needs to get done. Like a
Hmm.
good, really solid player who's going to help you a lot over an 82 game regular season. So like that's a big move, but
I
it's
think
just going to be interesting.
I think it was definitely great help with Daryl Morey grabbing Niang, because I think transition game for them is a big thing, and Niang has that ability to get what get the opportunity to take the shots that he wants to, and I think that he's a great fit for the offensive part of this team, and I would love for him to like shoot at least 60% um the first three quarters each game, and possibly even higher. But I think that he's been in a great groove with a bunch of uh great great performances, and I think Doc Rivers just loves having him in the rotation, and especially having Tyrese Maxey alongside him. They definitely produce a ton of positive things, and it just it seems smooth even with Embiid and everyone else. And I think that it's definitely a big um, step forward.
I 100% agree. He's a big piece for them, like Maxey. Like they have a lot of good players that can fit in. Danny
Hmm.
Green, we don't haven't really talked about him, but you know what you're gonna get from Danny Green. sometimes inconsistent shooter,
Yeah.
but he's a good veteran who you can count on to do his job every night, and that's still very valuable. But another guy is Steph Curry. He's been really good in a Sixers uniform,
Hmm.
and like that, he his ability to really score the basketball well is really helps, really like elevates the potential of this team. I feel like because like they needed a guy like that.
Hmm.
They've needed a guy like this for a while now. Honestly, I feel like, and just having him, if him and Maxi can fit together well, we'll see. Well, I mean, it's still early in the season, but like I feel like they've been decent together
Hmm.
in this combo. But like they both can put the ball in the bucket really well. Steph Curry's an elite shooter, and just the ability, like the way that they can play off each other. Steph Curry and Embiid, like I feel like they play really well together too, which is super important. Have someone who can really hit big shots and just like
Hmm.
fits with your franchise player.
Speaking of Seth Curry, they they got Golden State next Saturday at Philly, and he's going to be up against his brother Steph Curry, and I'm really anxious to see that game. Um, I'm hoping to be back in time because I'm actually supposed to be seeing the UConn women's basketball team with a friend of mine at the Prudential Center, and um, I'm just hoping that I'll be back before 8, which I do think that I will.
That's awesome. Awesome. So
But
you going to a UConn women's game? Pretty
yeah,
cool. Who they
yeah.
playing?
They are playing. I think it's UCLA,
That's sick, actually. Really awesome.
and
Yeah, like that'll be a big
it's actually
game.
like not to get off topic on the Sixers talk, but I just wanted to tell you that the UConn men's team plays right afterwards
Okay.
against Saint Bonaventure,
All right. That'll be a really good game too. Yeah, we'll definitely talk
and
about that on the College Hoops podcast.
Saint Bonaventure is 7-1.
Yeah, that'll be a game worth discussing on
Yeah.
college basketball episode for sure.
So continuing on this Sixer segment, what's your preview thoughts on the Sixers' next matchup against Charlotte?
So yeah, I see they play two games. They have back to back against Charlotte, which
Hmm.
I don't like. I don't know. You play back both games on the road too. A lot of times you have the home and home, but like this. I don't know. Both games in Charlotte, kind of weird, but I mean they'll roll with it. I mean it's just gonna be interesting. We talked about it. You would like to see Embiid really assert himself offensively
Hmm.
in the first quarter of the first game. Like set the tone for like these two games that are coming. Like they're gonna have to figure out a game plan to really shut down Embiid, or they're gonna lose both these games. Like I feel like you got to set that tone early. And I think they will. So I think they get the first game, and then the second game maybe the Hornets make adjustments to get them find a way to win. But like I mean, but maybe Harris is back for one of the games. Who knows? But like
Hmm.
especially without Harris, like Seth Curry, Maxey, they've been good. Like not denying that, but like I think you got to really get Embiid going early on in this first game. Just set the tone. Like Charlotte does not have someone who can defend him, and they're like that's just not going to happen. So he should score 30 in both these games. I feel like. So I'm looking for Embiid to really. I don't know. I don't know. He seemed like he had a good game with Hawks. Like how's it? I don't know what conditions. Like I think he seemed pretty fine against the Hawks. So
Hmm.
they clearly didn't rush him back. But I mean, obviously see how he. But if they need to try to get him going. And I think they will.
Yeah, I think that like limiting turnovers in this upcoming series against Charlotte is a very uh, crucial thing for them because I feel like Philadelphia has the feeling of turning over the ball a lot, and it's just a bad scenario for them. And I think that if they play their game right, like what they've been doing in the start of the season and last night, um, against Atlanta. I think that they will be fine. My question is like how is Tyrese Maxey going to match up with this interesting Charlotte team? And do you think that he might have trouble getting open, or what do you think?
I don't think I'm too worried about him offensively because I mean the Hornets have some guys who defend pretty well. I mean they're all up and down, but I think Maxey, I think he's going to be able to really attack the bucket well and just really get. I think he's going to be able to get to his spot. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how. I need to. I don't know how they defend. I haven't watched the Hornets much as like recently, but like how I don't know what they'll expect defensively because like we talked about the game plan's clearly going to have to be. Do they try to like how do they defend Embiid is really going to tell how they're able to defend some of these perimeter guys. Because if they just they just let Embiid get his 30 points, like let it happen, and make sure Maxey and Curry don't get going, or will they try to limit Embiid to like just shut him down or shut him down as best you can? That's not gonna happen. You're not shutting him down, but like you put more emphasis on him and like let Maxey and Curry, let them get going a little bit. And now that's just be interesting to see, but I don't think Charlotte has the guys to really shut Maxey down. So I think he's gonna be able to get to his spots, and I think he's gonna be able to open up the offense for everybody else. So I expect him to play well in these two games. I really do. I think he'll have 20 points in at least one of these two games.
I Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting next couple of games, and I don't want to take too much time of this topic. So let's move on to the Memphis Grizzlies, which is your team, your squad.
So
So I will leave you to your opinion on it, and I'm very interested to see what your opinion is with them without Ja Morant.
yeah, so I mean, even when Ja was playing, like we've had some really good wins this season. Like, I mean, it's been a success so far. Obviously, after the last few games, especially, but like we we've been really shaky on the defense has been bad. Excuse me, it's been bad. Like not just bad, like through like 15 games, we were the worst defense in the league by far. Like not even close. It was a joke how bad we were defensively. I should have looked up the stats before I did this, but I'm assuming that since we won 4 games in a row, I believe 4 games in a row, that the defense has been better. And like from watching, I could tell it has and stuff. But like, so I'm interested to see what the numbers say now. But like the defense is just really bad, and we were like 10th in the conference, and now we're fourth. Like, like we're 13-10, so like it doesn't really matter, but it's good to see you get a few wins without Ja, and that's super important because we're getting like we lost the game. We lost the game. He got hurt bad. Like I'm pretty sure we lost like 40. Like the energy wasn't there, and I was very concerned because the energy hadn't been there the last couple games with him either. So it's not like he was carrying. We lost tough one, and then we just found a way to replace him. Like the past few games with him had been struggling too, so I was very concerned. But the guys have really stepped up. Desmond Bain's been really good. Jaren Jackson's been good. Everyone's stepping up, especially the end of the bench guys who are forced in the rotation have stepped up as well, which is super important for this team. I mean, they're finding ways to win games. And Desmond Bain had 29 and 9 tonight, I believe. He was attacking the bucket very well, and that's something that Ja Morant does so well. So it's good to see other guys taking on that role offensively as well. But I mean, the main thing is it's going to come down to defense because like we have guys who can score the basketball, create for themselves. But Ja's just he's a different animal, man. Like what he can do for this team, attacking the bucket, finishing, but like he's an elite playmaker for his teammates. So I mean, we're not going to be as good offensively. Like that's just not happening. So they had to step up on defensive end of the floor, and they have, and they beat Dallas. So now they're 13-10, fourth place in the West. And I mean, there's some tough games coming up. And looking ahead, I mean, without Ja for they still have no timetable, but the original was a couple weeks. So I figured mid December we get an update, and then early January with best case scenario he comes back. That was my guess, but we'll see. Maybe maybe Christmas is best case scenario, that's like Christmas time-ish, late December is best case scenario, but who knows? They're going to be extremely cautious with it. And I think it is, I think them playing without Ja can be super valuable. And we'll see how it goes because like the Sixers struggle without Embiid, but they like Tyrese Maxey being the guy still has value. Like him being the guy for that team for a few games, like having some big moments, like leading his team with some wins, it's still super valuable. It sucks they had to take a hit in the standing to do that, but like you still like Tyrese Maxey got some valuable, very valuable time. Like he was running the offensive time on the floor, and like they like he was big time for them, and this that stuff's important. Like the Grizzlies side, like Desmond Bain, he's kind of the guy tonight. They'll just have different guys like that. So like it sucks that you're missing like Ja Morant's out, but I mean this team's always been about the long term picture, and I know you Sixers fans can relate to that. Like not you're not rushing that process. We made the playoffs last year, and like I get as a fan of them, like we wanna hit that next step, but like it's more we're more thinking how can this team be the best they can for the next 10 years, and we're not focused on how can we do the best we can this season. Like it's about being the best we can going forward, and I mean it's just gonna be interesting. John Moran will be out a while, but I mean the team's been really good. They've impressed me a lot without him, and and just keep playing good basketball. That's all. Like you're not gonna win every game without him. You're gonna but getting 13-10, find a way to stay above 500 when he comes back, and then you roll. I think that's a good mindset. I mean, you don't. They're not really thinking records. Like obviously, these refs they want to stay above 500, keep winning games, but like just play basketball and do your thing, and the results will take care of themselves.
So uh, I wanted your thoughts on your upcoming game against Miami, and Miami's been on a roll lately. They have won one, two, three, four games in a row. Oh, actually, that's for the Grizzlies. My bad.
Yeah.
So,
Whoa. You're good.
so what do you think about Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo,
I
and
believe Bam Adebayo is out for that game. I believe he's
yeah,
out for like a month. If I remember
yeah,
right.
I
I
think
believe
he
he's had
has.
some injury. I believe he had surgery, something minor. I may be wrong there, but I
Yeah,
know he's out for a little bit. But like that's a
I'm.
big loss for that team. I mean, it'll still be tough. It's gonna be a tough game. Like Miami's always tough to play against.
I
Just
just
the way they
looked up.
play.
It says, oh, apparently Bam Adebayo has to get surgery,
Yeah,
so
I don't think it's
he's going to
anything
be.
major.
So I think he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, a few weeks at least. I don't.
Hmm.
Yeah, nothing crazy, but I mean, surgery's gonna be at least a couple weeks, pretty much whatever it is.
Hmm.
So I mean, without him, it'll be interesting to see if Jaren Jackson can go in a little bit more without Bam inside because I mean, excuse me, the Heat's inside depth.
Hmm.
It's not great. Um, like that might be the one area of concern. I feel like. I mean, they have the pieces on perimeter. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. They've been shaky at times, but I mean, they're still two really good guards. Kyle Lowry, Butler. I
Hmm.
still think the Heat are a threat in the East. Possibly a contender, maybe not. We'll see how the season goes. But I mean, they have the pieces to be a really good basketball team. So I mean, the Grizzlies will have to play well. I'm interested to see. I mean, the Heat could make it tough on the Grizzlies offensively, depending what they do. Um, I mean, it'll be a fun matchup. I mean, the Grizzlies got to play good basketball. That's what it'll come down to. I mean, if they play defense like they have the past few games and just keep sharing the load offensively, I mean, they'll have a chance against anybody. But it's just gonna all come down to consistency because you're
Hmm.
not gonna be good every night without John Morant. That's just not gonna happen. Even with him, there's gonna be off nights. So they just got to find a way to win. You got to win games on off nights, though. Every team like this. So even on your off nights, maybe you struggle offensively against Miami. Find a way to get the stops needed to win the game. But I mean, that'll definitely be a competitive basketball game.
the play. So I'm looking at last game for Miami. Uh, they had this one player that dropped 25 points. His name is Max Struss. He had 25 points, 3 rebounds with no assists. But what do you think about him? And do you think that his performance will be as well as that game, as good as that game, or do you think that it's just a one and done?
I think that's more of a one and done. In Miami, he always have good role players that they can count on. But I mean, Struck, he was a good college player at DePaul.
Mhm.
So I mean, like I've been following his game for a while. He's a talented player for sure, and I think he can be a reliable role player. But I don't think he'll. I mean, it'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, offensively, because like I mean, it was just a weird. That was a weird game. They didn't play the start of the time. I don't know if his points were late, but I mean that's super impressive. He's hitting his shots, and the Grizzlies will know that as well. But I mean the focus is still going to be on Hero and Robinson in that role. I would say
Mhm.
like you gotta not shut those guys down first. If Struss gets going, you adjust. But like the main thing is going to be stopping the main guys. If Struss is the one that beats you, it's just a tough. That's just a tough one to swallow. But I mean, he's a good player, so he's certainly capable of this. I'm not acting like he's not. It's just I don't think he's not at that stage and point yet. I don't think he's going to get the opportunity to have a game like this again either. I don't think he'll play 24 minutes against the Grizzlies like he did against the Bucks.
Um, okay, so we are going to move on to a very interesting topic that, in my opinion, it is with this Lakers team, and they've been struggling, like completely struggling, and I did not see this coming as a Sixers fan, but they just completely just went off the edge with these losses, and I think that it's a very unfortunate problem for Frank Vogel and their coaching staff with this team right now, and they've been just playing atrocious. I mean, not every game they played atrocious, but it's majority of the time they haven't lived to their expectations. And I feel like this team is not as deep as it was a couple of years ago, like last year or the year before. And I think that this team is is not going to be that great come playoff time. And I think they might get in the play-in tournament, but I can see a bunch of teams upsetting them and getting them knocked out. What are your thoughts on this Lakers team as of now? And do you think that this team is just overall? What do you think about this team?
I just, I mean, Westbrook, AD, and LeBron are special. That's a really good trio, and in a playoff series, they're going to be tough to beat. But they still have to get there first, and the depth on this team isn't good. Carmelo has been solid, which has saved them from being a bad basketball team. Having Melo step up, Malik Monk's been okay. Horton Tucker coming back big. Like they just, I don't know. They just, I mean, LeBron's missed time. Anthony Davis haven't been great. Westbrook's been a little up and down, but he's been okay recently. It's just they're just not. I don't. I still think they're a threat in the West because of how weak. There's no dominant team in the league, so there's no reason Lakers can't be a contender. But they haven't shown me that they have to. I mean, they haven't done anything to prove that they are. Like I don't care who's on the team. You still like you got to go on the floor and compete, and they're not doing that at a high level on either end of the floor. Um, and just it's just a shaky situation. Like I get it's still early, but I mean we are 25 games in the season, give or take, for the team to like, and they're not producing. And you can say get into playing and find a way to win games, but they thought they was a month last year. They lost both rounds against Phoenix, and I get that it sounds like a great team. Management is like you can't just rely on making playoff and getting done. Like the seeding matters. Like you got to get consistency going through the season. So I mean, they just got to find a way. I don't know. They're gonna have to improve the roster. They 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 just don't have the depth pieces. The depth isn't good on this team. They, I don't know. People reacted like it was. Like I was always skeptical. I thought they'd be better than this, but I was always skeptical. I didn't think this was the best team in the West. Um, preseason and like just really disappointing to see how they played. Um, I just don't. I don't see them turning it around. I really don't. They'll be a playoff team. They might avoid the play-in. They may not, honestly.
Mhm.
They may not avoid the play-in. So a couple other teams play well. If Ja Morant comes back and really keep playing, they could easily finish ahead of the Lakers. Um, Denver's in a shaky spot, but I mean, there's a lot of teams that they
They'll
get healthy. They can finish ahead of the Lakers easy.
their next game is against Boston.
Lakers, they need that one. They need that one. Both teams really need that one.
Mhm.
The Lakers have to win that game. They have if they can't beat Boston, they Boston's not a good team. The Lakers have to win. They Lakers lost one of the Clippers they shouldn't have recently. Like they lose a lot of games they shouldn't have, and it's very disappointing.
And
They've had
then
nights where they play well, but they just got to play, man.
they play you guys after that game.
Oh, they really. I don't know. I mean, like it doesn't matter who they're playing. If they play
Yeah.
good, if they play how they're capable, they win
Mhm.
against almost any team in the league. And if they don't, they'll lose. That's basically what it's come down to. I feel like because they were 0-3 or something when the Grizzlies played them the first time, and they played really good basketball. That's one of the best games of the season so far. So
Mhm.
like I don't know. I mean, will they take us lightly without Morant? Like I mean, we can still easily beat them without Morant. Like, no one's scared of the Lakers anymore. I guess no one really has been recently. But like no one's scared of the Lakers. Like they feel they're a contender, but like dude, no one like there's few teams in the West who take over them. Like Suns and Golden State easily. Some people would still say Utah. I mean like the Lakers aren't no one's like they're not anything anyone's worried about right now. Like if these other teams ahead of them just keep playing basketball, they're not worried about the Lakers too much. And the
Mhm.
series, like, yeah, the Lakers six. Well, yeah, maybe you don't want to see the Lakers as a 6 or 7 seed in the playoffs, but like, no one's, no one's gonna use that. Like, no one's gonna avoid the Lakers. I feel like. So I mean, they just gotta play, man. I'm honestly super disappointed. And I want Russ to get a ring, but like, this team's been a very disappointment. And I'm not one to overreact. Like, they easily could turn around, but like, nothing they've done to show me they have the pieces to turn it around.
Mhm.
Like they're just not going to be a great regular season team. They don't have the guys, the depth to sustain 82 game season and finish high enough to where they'll be able to win the playoffs. So I don't see them doing anything in the playoff either. Super disappointed.
Um. Okay. So moving on, we got two more things to go for this episode. So the last two are how good the Bulls have been doing and a little preview of Miami against Milwaukee. So what are your thoughts on Chicago as of now? And do you think that they are playing with what they thought they would be good at?
Yeah, they've been the one though. This team was they clearly made the move to be really good. Top even like they're borderline contender. They're playing really good basketball both in before. But the one thing that has surprised me, and I think surprised most people, is the way DeMar DeRozan has played. He has quite arguably been the best player on that team when I thought he was going to be the fourth best player on the team.
Mhm.
And but I believe he's still the ring scorer. I mean, that doesn't say a ton, but I feel like he's been the guy that really really taken them to the next level. I mean, Lonzo Ball is a huge pickup too. Like that's massive.
Mhm.
Losing Patrick Williams hurts a lot though because that fourth spot, the power forward spot, small man forward, he's small forward, but he plays forward a lot. That position, that athletic forward, is something that's so valuable, and their depth is a little bit in question. So having a Williams, a guy, young role player who can fit into his role around this key group was super valuable, and they've been missing that a little bit. And I think especially in the playoff series, they missed that. But as much as this team wants to win now, they're not super concerned. I mean, with DeRozan, he's getting up there in age, so I mean, it'll be interesting. But like this, they're not worried about that. There's Bulls fans of that team. They're just happy they're playing good basketball. So they're just worried about making the season the best that they can. They're not thinking too long term at the moment. I mean, obviously, there's some people in front office will have to be, but like this is a really good basketball team. Both ends of the floor. Alonzo Ball's a great defender. Vucevic hasn't quite had the offensive impact I thought he would be, but he hasn't needed to. With
Mhm.
DeRozan's been sensational. Like he's been one of the best players in the league. Like he's an all-star, and he's clear all-star. He's back for an all-star, and he's
Speaking
a
of
good chance to make an
DeRozan,
All-NBA team.
speaking of DeRozan, Chicago played Brooklyn last night, and he had 29 points with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. So he played really well last night against a very good Brooklyn team, especially playing in Brooklyn. And I think that Chicago is very lucky to have him as a big asset to this team.
No, dude, I 100% agree. Like that's a big time win. And like
Mhm.
really cool. These have been hard, but like they just don't have that guy a lot. Like that core four they have is sensational. So
And
they need guys to step up around that.
Zach Levine had 31 points with 8 rebounds, 6 assists.
Yeah, he was really good.
So they
They still
both
have a
went
big
off
time.
last night.
Yeah, it was really good. Lonzo was good too. Vucevic was solid. But like it's weird. But I'm not worried about Vucevic. Like if they need him, he could easily he's still easily guy can score 20, 25 points a game if they
Mhm.
need to. But with how good DeRozan's been, they don't need him to right now. So it's super interesting to see how they're gonna do that. Like that's a big time win for them. It still
Yeah.
puts them atop no, oh they still have to be behind Brooklyn. But like that puts them up in the East, they're starting to get 16-8, they're playing good basketball. Like this team's a threat. And still a bit too early for me to call them a contender, but I still think they're a
Mhm.
step below the Nets and the Bucks in the playoff series. But I mean, they're in as good a spot as any right now, and playing towards this playoff because they have multiple guys who can take over a game late, make big shots. They have an elite defensive guard, and they have guys who can defend as well on the perimeter, and that's super valuable. And I'm very interested to see what they do. I mean, they'll have to add some pieces to kind of fill some of these voids. Maybe buyout market, trade market, will figure something out. But like, they have a really good roster, some good young pieces to work with as well in the depth, the rotation. And I mean, I'm very excited to see how they continue to build this going forward. But yeah, they're a threat in the East. I feel like.
Mhm. Okay, so lastly, this is a pretty interesting game this upcoming week. We got Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat against the Greek Freak and the Bucks. I think it's this Wednesday night on ESPN. This game will be played on. Uh, so, what are your thoughts on this matchup, and what do you expect to see? What plays out in this game?
I mean, and just I always love watching these teams play, like in the playoffs. We see them, and it's super competitive always. I'm very interested to see how that matchup turns out. Without Bam Adebayo, it's not going to be the same.
Hmm.
So I think Giannis should be able to just lead the Bucks to a dub because of that. But I mean, the Heat's still a good basketball team, but I don't think they can beat the Bucks without Bam. Um, Giannis should have a big game. He should score 30 plus, double-digit rebounds, and just take over the game. So it'll be interesting to see what game plan he come up with. I'm still super excited. Jimmy Butler have a big game. And Steam Duncan Robinson or Hero will play well and get going as well. So I'm super interested to see how this game goes. But I don't think the Heat can win that game without fans. Because the Bucks have been playing really good basketball as of late too. They're back. They got to a slow start, but they're really starting to get some wins. They've won 9 of the last 10, and I think they're the best team in the East right now.
So I think that this wraps up episode number 6. And we definitely covered a ton in the past 50 or so minutes. And I'm really excited to keep on watching these games and definitely talking about what happens throughout the next couple of weeks with you, Chris, and especially with college basketball, with a ton of matchups this upcoming week. We would definitely have an episode on some of the games that have happened, and we will try to have a guest on later in the week, next week, and I'm just really happy to be able to take the time on a Saturday night into a Sunday with you, Chris, and I'm definitely looking forward to the upcoming week.
Sorry, no,
That's right.
excuse me, but yeah, it's gonna be a great week of basketball. I mean, NBA's gonna be fun. Got some great college games. Starting to get in some conference play for some conferences. I love that. Love how some conferences get going. It's gonna be super exciting and
Can't wait
just
for it.
a lot of fun matchups.
Can't wait for it. Nova Syracuse.
That'll be a really good game. A lot of good college basketball games this week too. NBA is really getting rolling too into December, and I'm just super excited. Basketball season's in full force, and I love this sport, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fun time. So this is episode number 6 of Hoop Talk Fanatics, and have a good night, everyone.